one. Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Very exciting day today in fire-ravaged Los Angeles, but still an exciting day because the nominations for the 97th annual Oscars were announced this morning. And today we get to talk to somebody I have followed for years. He is an entertainment journalist that has written for some of the best publications out there. He is one of the best follows on Twitter, even though I'm not on there much anymore. And his own newsletter, which I implore you to subscribe to, the Sneider, has broken more Hollywood news than anyone out there. He's here to talk noms today, the one and only Jeff Sneider. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, my man. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So what is your take waking up to these nominations? I saw that the only one that you kind of missed the boat on potentially was Demi Moore getting a Best Actress nomination for The
Substance.
The Substance, obviously, yes.
Everyone considers her to be the front runner, and I can see why. She has a great narrative. She's put in decades of excellent work. I just was personally a little skeptical. I thought it was going to end up being the snubstance, if you will, because I didn't think that older Academy members would really embrace just how gonzo and extreme that movie is.
It really is.
Yeah, but I think that the Academy is getting younger, it's getting bolder, and it's getting, more open to nominating this kind of work.
Well, even after the Golden Globes, I always think the Oscars, and especially now we're in this kind of season of promoting these films and telling a story in efforts to win the award itself. And after Demi Moore's speech, I was like, oh, wow, this is a real race now, because she presented a story that I thought was kind of interesting. And you did realize how many decades she has spent in this industry. So I thought, this is a Hollywood story, and we love Hollywood stories.
It is a great story, but all of these contenders have good stories, right? Carla Sofia Gascon is the first transgender Best Actress nominee. She has a great story. I think Mikey Madison's story from Cannes, to this year with Anora is a great story, and Fernanda Torres as well. So it's like, are we voting for narratives, or are we voting for the work?
Well, I sometimes think they vote for narratives. I mean, I think just watching the Oscars for so long, I always think back to, 1997 and the Miramax campaign for Good Will Hunting, and really pushing that Ben Affleck, Matt Damon story on us, and this narrative of these two boys made good that grew up in Boston. And I think we rally around those stories. So it is interesting. But if you were to bet today, after seeing these Best Actress nominations, who would you go with?
Oh, man. I still think it's going to be tough to resist Carla Sofia Gascon from Emilia Perez, considering, the reception that movie received today, 13 nominations, and it's a polarizing film, but I thought she was terrific. And a lot of people didn't even realize that she's playing both,
both roles.
Right. Exactly. Before transition and post transition. But Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, I mean, everybody really loved that movie, and she's terrific in it. She's tough to ignore.
I really thought she was going to take the Globe, so it was very exciting to see that out there. And also, we have Ariana Grande in a Best Supporting Actress nomination, her first, and she is very excited. Were you surprised at all to see John Chu not on the Best Director list?
Not surprised. I mean, I thought he deserved it just because he did a better job than I ever thought was possible, really. But no, I'm not terribly surprised. I feel like the box office was sort of seen as his reward. It was great to see Coralie Farge nominated for The Substance. I was worried that there weren't going to be any female, directors nominated, but it was such a good year for female filmmakers. I'm glad that at least one of them was recognized.
I was a little surprised, Complete Unknown. I was surprised that a Best Director nomination was given for
Me
that.
too.
Because I think amazing performances, Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton. We have, what's her name, Best Supporting Actress, which was a little bit of a surprise, Monica Barbaro,
yeah.
I was surprised by that, but I was surprised by Best Director nomination for that film specifically.
I completely agree. I mean, Mangold is a great filmmaker, but it felt to me like he was just directing a lot of concert scenes. Someone like Denis Villeneuve being left off for the Dune sequel, or even Edward Berger for Conclave.
Which, by the way, I want to say you had a great thing that made me laugh of saying he needs an Oscar nomination just for making me interested in watching Dune. Like, you actually like Dune. He made it palpable.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that first film, but I really thought the sequel was a tremendous piece of art. So I was surprised to see it snubbed. I mean, I think the first movie won 6 Oscars, and the sequel, which is much better, is only nominated for 5. So I guess it really is just up about the competition you're up against.
Was there anything? I mean, to me, I woke up and my biggest surprise, and this might not have been a surprise for you, but I was surprised with the two acting noms for The Apprentice, which obviously is about Donald Trump and his mentor relationship with the infamous Roy Cohn. And we have, Jeremy Strong and Sebastian Stan both getting nominations. Was that a surprise to you, or did you see that coming?
Less a surprise than a relief. I saw it coming. I predicted it, but it was more of a hope diction, like I hope that the Academy does the right thing here. I had that movie as the best movie of the year, and I'm not a Donald Trump guy at all. Believe me, I just thought it was the most complete movie. And Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong were terrific in it, so I was thrilled to see that they were both nominated today. And I think it really speaks to Tom Ortenberger, who runs Briarcliff, who put himself out there and acquired The Apprentice. Like, he saw something that no one else did, or at least if they saw it, they were too scared to act on it, and he got rewarded today.
Yeah, he really did. And obviously, Sebastian Stan won at the Globes for A Different Man. But, this really brings that picture back in the forefront. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it's politicized, if Trump takes the bait and talks about these performances, on Truth Social or anything like that. So I'm interested and curious to see how it's handled, which will be kind of an interesting story that I think will come out in months to come. What is your take on The Brutalist, which was also very heavily nominated and was expected to, but as one of your stories, there was AI involved, and that story came out this week in terms of, I think, sound design and some of the building shots used. What is your view on The Brutalist?
I think The Brutalist is terrific. I mean, I'll stop short of calling it a masterpiece, but to me, it is the most worthy Best Picture winner. I think it would, when we look back 10, 15 years from now, I think that's the movie that we're going to want to hold up as sort of the best of our efforts this year. I thought Adrian Brody delivered the performance of the year. It was great to see Felicity Jones nominated, because I think that she was sort of on the bubble. She only appears in the film's second half, which is generally not as well liked as the first half, but I thought she was terrific. And it was great to see Guy Pearce nominated. He could even maybe pull off an upset against Kieran Culkin, since A Real Pain didn't crack the Best Picture field.
Which, by the way, A Real Pain is now streaming on Hulu, folks. I told you about this earlier, but go watch that film. The Brutalist, it'll be interesting to see if they are able to pull off all of these categories, because it is such an achievement. I just do wonder, in Best Supporting Actor, I think Edward Norton is a dark horse here, but you think it potentially is Guy Pearce in an upset.
I think it's totally wide open. I think Yuri Borisov from Anora could be the guy. Like, is the Academy, is the industry just going to be like, I don't want to vote for someone in the industry. I just want to vote for this other guy who is in this movie Anora that everybody kind of loved.
Yeah, Sean Baker hit it out of the park. And I think, well, I mean, you kind of agree, but I think it's a fascinating movie that people are still catching up to. But how much of it, just for the audience at home, goes into at this moment the game that Hollywood plays to kind of seduce Oscar voters? I mean, it's changed a lot since the Weinstein days of wining and dining, but how much competition, like, because you said, are we going to award actual performances and actual art, or is it the business and the industry of Hollywood? Where are we, in your opinion?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think yes, it's about the work, but it's also about who you are, and are you popular in town? Do you have the respect of your peers? I wish it was more about the work, but I acknowledge that it is about paying the dues that you've paid, or all that kind of stuff. But like you said with Norton, I do agree that he is a dark horse. I think it's a totally different kind of turn for him.
And it's something that you would be honoring. I believe he has 4 nominations throughout his career, starting with Primal Fear and that amazing role. And it would be kind of exciting to reward an overall career. I can't believe I'm getting so old where I'm like, I've been there for an overall career of an actor. So you kind of reward that.
Exactly. You've seen him. I remember when I was just like a teenager, basically, and seeing Ed Norton in Primal Fear. And so you're right that there is something where it's like, I've seen this guy since he was, in his early 20s, and following him through his career. Do you want to reward it for the overall body of work? But yeah, like you said, Sean Baker, 4 nominations, I think, individual nominations today, which is astounding.
So the actor in a leading role, we have Adrian Brody, Timothée Chalamet, Coleman Domingo, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. I'm thinking that you think Adrian Brody is going to win this.
I think so. I realize that Timothée Chalamet is sort of the next big movie star, and everybody wants to anoint him.
Well, it's exciting, isn't it, Jeff, to actually have a movie star in this day and age?
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's like they made Philip Seymour Hoffman wait for it. They like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make these guys wait for it, work for it, and wait a little bit. And I think that Timmy is going to have to do that.
Obviously, you probably have a hot take. Will he bring Kylie Jenner on the red carpet to the Oscars, Jeff? Are you getting any inside scoop on this yet?
I don't have any insight. He doesn't strike me as the type to pull that power play. I could
Yeah.
see him bringing his mom. He's a nice boy.
Conclave, what did you think of that movie this year? Which
I
is,
thought
by
it
the way,
was
streaming on Peacock.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. The ending, I thought, made it a little silly, but Ray Fiennes is terrific, and it was great to see Isabella Rossellini nominated today because I thought that she really deserved it.
That was interesting. So you thought Isabella Rossellini, because that was a surprise for me, even having watched the film. I thought she was great, but I did not think that she was going to get that nomination.
Yeah, again, she's the daughter of Ingrid Bergman and comes from this great acting lineage. I just thought that she really held her own in this cast full of men and stood out and made the most of her, big scenes.
Yeah, no, and obviously Conclave with the Crying Game-esque ending, which I thought, obviously Hollywood's going to do Hollywood. Actress in a supporting role, who would you said Felicity Jones, you were happy. She's in the second half of The Brutalist. You said Isabella Rossellini. I mean, who are you going for personally if we were to reward the art?
I mean, if it was me, I would go Felicity Jones just because I thought she was terrific. But I do think that this is going to be Zoe Saldana's Oscar to lose. I think she's basically the co-lead of Emilia Perez, if not the outright lead. And it's just, she has done her part in keeping this industry afloat by starring in all these blockbusters. And so to take a chance and do this big dramatic role, it's a total, change of pace for her. I think that she's going to get it.
I mean, Zoe Saldana, you got to give her credit because she's been stuck in Avatar world for so long. So when she has something else that she can be rewarded for to show what an amazing actor she is, I think that's a really exciting story.
Right.
For director, so you've got to be saying it's Brady all the way for The Brutalist, right?
I think so, yeah.
And will the AI allegations, or not allegations, the AI conversation hurt because all of a sudden that pops up and tries to, it's put in our heads that the use of AI in films, we have to highly discourage this, even though they were working with a very limited budget. Do you think that's going to hurt those votes?
No, I don't. And listen, it should be limited AI use, but I don't think that you can hold it against a movie. I mean, Emilia Perez used re-speecher as well, and that has the most nominations today. I think that people in the industry are savvy enough to realize that these tools, the budget isn't an excuse to use them, but everyone's going to be using them soon enough. And I don't think it takes away from the artistry of The Brutalist at all. I don't think that voters are going to hold that against Brady Corbet.
And you brought up, so for the audience that doesn't know, re-speecher, it's a tool to actually kind of like the accent, just like on certain like accents or sounds to kind of clarify and make a little smoother. I believe that's what re-speecher is, correct?
Right, exactly. It just changed some of the Hungarian vowels, made the words sound a little bit more clear and authentic. So we're really going to strip a movie of its Oscars and nominations or whatever because of that? I don't think so.
The Oscars themselves are hosted by Conan O'Brien. It's coming up in March. There was a lot of conversation because of the fires. Would they be pushed back? Obviously, the nominations got affected a little bit. And you spoke about in an article that there is going to be they're going to acknowledge the fires. And you even thought like this should be some sort of kind of not telethon, but like, this is a way to help the displaced victims of this fire that are still raging. How do you think the Academy is going to handle this in terms of the actual telecast?
It's a good question because you have to tread a fine line. You can't. I don't think that they're going to go full out telethon. I think there's something weird about millionaire celebrities asking people to spend money and whatnot. But we have to remember that L.A., the Palisades, Malibu, it's not just all A-list celebrities living in mansions, right? There's regular people. There's blue collar people.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Of course, in Altadena, yeah, blue collar workers, the lifeblood of this industry, below the line folks. So I think if they are going to do something, I don't know what it will look like, but it will be tasteful. And I think that Conan is the right person to have at the helm for this year's show.
Yeah, I'm curious to see Conan in that spot, and it makes me think back to that year that Letterman hosted, and we had the Oprah, Uma, and it was kind of this weird, this very weird ceremony that I think it stung in the reception of that. So I'm excited to see what Conan does with this, and we have another change up because we have the best original song, I believe, right? This is a little different this year. Can you explain?
They're not going to be performing the songs. I think this year the Academy kind of wanted to shift the onus on on the songwriters, right? So they're going to honor the writers, but the songs won't be performed. Now, there's no song like "I'm Just Ken" from Barbie like last year, which was like the highlight of the telecast.
Yeah.
There's no song like that you're going to be missing. It's really just a couple songs from Amelia Perez or whatever. So I don't think it's a huge loss. I wish that they hadn't done it, but I also don't see what we're going to be missing out on, in the ceremony.
Maybe Ryan Gosling can just do "I Am Ken" again. I think it would unify us. I think we need some kind of laugh. But, you obviously have Elton John and Brandi Carlile who wrote Never Too Late together. So I am interested to see how they handle that because, that's a little star power right there, which the show obviously is trying to get ratings. And how are they going to do that?
Of course, and that could pull off the upset, quite frankly, over Amelia Perez. But I think if they want ratings, right, and they want to use music to do it, you got to have Cynthia Erivo perform "Defying Gravity" from Wicked. If they can somehow pull that off, then you have a real moment.
God, Jeff, wouldn't that suck though, being nominated and also having to perform on the same night? Like it would just be more tension filled.
It's a lot of stress. Oh yeah, sorry. We're getting fire alarm testing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the kind of this is the kind of firsthand reporting Jeff does. That's on the scene he is. Best Picture, I don't know how many years ago, but they raised it from 5 to as many as they want. And we have Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, which is great that that's getting recognition. Nickel Boys, which I talked with Sam this week, who was on Tuesday's episode, saying that he loved Nickel Boys so much, so I'm glad that got recognition. The Substance, which you can stream on Mubi, and Wicked. So do you think Amelia Perez is going to upset this at all? There's no way, right?
No, I don't see Amelia Perez winning. I think it's going to be too polarizing. I think I still think that The Brutalist stands a really good chance. I can't rule Anora out or Wicked. I don't think it's going to be Conclave, though. I mean, the fact that did not get a director nom is a real problem.
Okay. Nosferatu actually got 4 nominations for Robert Eggers in terms of, I think, the production categories. Do you think those were deserved?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, below the line, Nosferatu, it's terrific. The movie wasn't for me. It was a little too slow, but visually, the crafts, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and then in terms of writing adapted screenplay, I believe Conclave won this at the Globes, but we have Amelia Perez, A Complete Unknown, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. Do you think Conclave's going to...
I think Conclave's the front runner there, but keep an eye on Sing Sing. I do wonder if the fact that got snubbed for Best Picture, if that could, I don't know, shift some votes in that category, in the screenplay category, but I still think it's Conclave is the front runner.
In terms of the release, do you think Sing Sing being released early last year instead of later in the year like a lot of the rest of these really hurt Sing Sing's chances, or do you think they did as good as they could with these nominations?
Yeah, I mean, they did try to re-release it and everything, but I think you're right. It was released in the middle of the summer. It didn't make its way to VOD until really late. They really made a push for people to see it in theaters, and I just think it kind of backfired and it lost momentum.
Writing original screenplay, we have Sean Baker with Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, written by Jesse Eisenberg, the director and actor, September 5th, and The Substance, written by the director. In this, once again, is this Brutalist for you all the way, or is there flexibility here?
No, I think this is where you're going to see the split, and you're going to see Sean Baker rewarded for Anora. Yeah, I mean...
Is there a chance that it goes A Real Pain at all? Is there a chance that Academy voters are voting in terms of like, well, Jesse's a movie actor. We should vote that way?
No, I don't think so. Not this year. A Real Pain was to me just a little thin. I mean, it's like an 82-minute movie. It just didn't have the weight that I felt like a Holocaust movie should, even one with a little bit of a comedic edge. So, yeah, I think that the nomination is the win for Jesse.
Okay, so we have a couple more minutes here. Do you have a couple more minutes?
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to talk about your newsletter because you broke news this week in terms of Ocean's 14. I believe Donovan Leitch, is that correct?
No, David Leitch.
David Leitch from Brad Pitt. He directed, was it Bullet Train?
Bullet Train, yeah.
You broke the news that he is directing Ocean's 14, and is this going to have everybody back in the game in terms of acting?
I think it's going to have most people. Yeah, I think that George and Brad are definitely committed to come back. I imagine Matt Damon, Casey Affleck will be back. I don't know what Scott Kahn's doing, so I have a feeling he will too.
Yeah,
But
he's
yeah,
back.
are we going to see Julia Roberts? Could we see any of the women from Ocean's 8, like Sandra Bullock, pop up? I don't know. I don't know how much, how big they're looking to go with this installment. But I like the Ocean's franchise, and I think that David Leitch is a better fit for it than Edward Berger, who Deadline had reported in September was being courted to direct.
And I mean, how much of this for Brad Pitt and George Clooney came because of not the failure, but Apple TV, their movie that was on streaming, did not do as well and did not get a theatrical release, I think, in the way that they wanted. Did that maybe push them towards making Ocean's 14 happening?
I think everybody these guys love working together. I don't know if the failure of Wolf's made them want to go and do Oceans more. I think that they've been trying to get the gang back together for a while, but I think that you're right. It probably reinforced them that we're movie stars. We belong in movie theaters. We aren't built for streaming. So it's nice to see them recommit to the theatrical experience.
I believe you also broke recently that Christopher Nolan, it was going to be his largest budget ever for his retelling of the Odyssey. I think it was like $255 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's going to be north of 250, which is basically what the Dark Knight Rises cost. I mean, it's going to be pretty VFX intensive. And that cast, my God, it's got to be an expensive cast.
I can't wait. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, I was hearing it was about helicopter pilots, and all of a sudden it comes out that it was the Odyssey. And just having read a book about Kubrick over last year, I love that there's still a little secretiveness in Hollywood. And I think Paul Thomas Anderson does this as well, which I think you broke the story on that budget as well, that movie's coming out in 2025 with DiCaprio, right?
I think it will. Right now it's scheduled for August. I don't know if that date will hold. I feel like it may be better positioned towards the end of the year for Oscar season. Matt Bellamy at Puck has been hearing rumors that it could be pushed to 2026. But either way, the budget on that is pretty high. It helps to have Leo, but PTA, Leo, they've never been huge box office guys, so it's a risk.
Yeah. You guys, Paul Thomas Anderson, amazing films, obviously, but they've never reached past a certain point at the box office. He obviously knows what he's doing, but working over $150 million, even with DiCaprio, obviously, I think I'm hearing there's a lot of car chase sequences because I'm like, dude, your films look so like, not inexpensive. They look amazing, but they look like you get things in on a budget. I mean, Phantom Thread was done on a budget. So how does it all of a sudden leap by $100 million? But I am the most excited for that film. What are you the most excited for in 2025?
Oh boy. It is the PTA movie for sure. I think Mission Impossible 8, I'm a big Tom Cruise guy. That's my favorite live action franchise.
I love that last film, and I'm so bummed. Like, that was one that I was rooting for to do better at the US box office because I didn't want them to skimp on the sequel, which it doesn't seem like they are.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was any skimping at all. This is one of the most expensive movies ever made. And I can't wait. I think Christopher McQuarrie knows how to deliver just impeccable action sequences.
I mean, I'm excited because we had the flying off the cliff on the motorcycle last time. So I'm very curious to see what the big stunt that Tom Cruise risks his life for this time. And just to take the audience through what your day looks like, because you have so many sources, you are connected everywhere. How did all of this get started? I mean, like, obviously as a kid, you must have had just a love for movies. And then how did that start? And then what does your day-to-day look like in just terms of, are you just constantly on the beat with all of your sources?
Yes. And I would say, picking up the phone, good things happen when you pick up the phone and you make the calls, right? You do the outreach and check in and see what people are hearing. But, for me, I went to NYU. I lucked out.
By the way, Tisch School of the Arts, folks.
Yes.
This guy's the real deal.
I lucked out and got a gig at Ain't It Cool News back when that was like the hot thing.
That was my thing. I would just refresh Ain't It Cool News back in the day, and it was like mind-blowing for somebody that loved Hollywood but didn't know how it worked. That site meant so much to me.
Right, and so I'm trying to keep the spirit of Ain't It Cool News going. Obviously, I was a trade guy for a long time. I wrote for Variety. I wrote for The Wrap. I wrote for The Man, so to speak, and it just really didn't get me anywhere. So last year I decided to go out on my own, and it's been rewarding. I like being my own boss, making my own hours, getting to write what I want to write, and not having to take any crap. So with your help and the support of subscribers, I can continue to do what I do and compete with the trades and push them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is so important for independent journalism, in especially entertainment, with sources that we can talk, reliable narrators that we can trust. And I just got to say, I truly am a personal fan. So it was wild when I was like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" Of course, I've been following you on Twitter for years. I mean, it would just be so fun to watch your back and forths, and you really don't take any guff, and it's just so appreciated in terms of being a movie fan. I want everybody out there to go subscribe to the Sneider. I'm going to put all of that information out there. We want Jeff to come back on this show, so we want to make it worth his while for being here today. Is there anything else that we can support you with, or anything else that we need to look out for as movie and TV fans?
I mean, I've got a couple podcasts later today, a new episode of FYC, which I host with Perry Nemiroff and Scott Manson, then a new episode of The Hot Mic, which I host with John Roca. So check those out. But really, I had a great time coming on the show. I'd love to chat with you again, Ryan, and thank you so much for following me over the years. I know,
dude, thank you for your service. Like,
I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm an acquired taste, but you know, I care about movies. I care about the work. So thank you.
Well, I hope you'll come back on many, many more times. And you guys, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Sneider.
Thank you.
Was that?